Good morning, everybody. Got your coffee? I got mine. So listen, yesterday I was outside with the pantry reconfiguring everything. I had to reconfigure it in a way where these adults would stop robbing these kids. Like I said in another video, I understand that adults that visit the pantry have kids, but we have like a lot of kids in the area. We used to didn't have quite this many, but I promise you, this nation becoming more unaffordable is why there's so many kids in the neighborhood, like all of a sudden, because this was known very much so as a retirement community. And now we've got all these kids, from little bitties all the way on up to getting ready to graduate high school. And that's because people can't afford rent like they used to. So now you're seeing all these multi-generational households now. And the neighborhood all of a sudden is a lot more busy. Well, anyway, like I said, I get that these adults have kids too, but there are kids around here. And the adults haven't learned to share. But the kids somehow are amazing at it. Don't ask me what it is. I don't know. But the kids, I never have to clean up behind them, straighten up behind them. I do the adults, full-grown adults. Just, I don't know. We are getting a lot of unhoused people too. And I've had to speak to them too about this being a free resource here for them to take what they need, but they need to put things back the way they found them, leave things in the same state that they have done them, that they found them in. And that's the least that they can do. The thing about when you do something like this type of work, people always get it kind of fucked up. They really do think that it's a kind act, and it is, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not something that I necessarily have to do. It's work that I kind of got called to do. But people will always take your kindness for weakness. Then when you have to have a conversation with them, they don't understand where it's coming from. Kindness doesn't mean that people are weak. Actually, I have to work every day at being kind. Kindness isn't something that comes easy for me. It really isn't. Kindness is something that it's a deliberate act that I have to work at, because let me tell you, I will hurt your feelings. I'll hurt your whole internal being if I have to. And I think it always just surprises people that kind people who do acts of kindness, have boundaries. That's kind of what I want to get into today. Boundaries. You can talk about boundaries and people will always tell you this lie, because I'm someone who's great at boundaries. I went to therapy for 10 years. You don't leave therapy after 10 years without being great at establishing boundaries. I am really good at it. And I always tell people that, but it doesn't matter. What people hear when you say, I'm great at setting boundaries, people hear, she's great at setting boundaries with other people, but when I need to push her boundaries, I'm going to do it. Because I'm not great at respecting boundaries. I just think that I am. That's kind of what goes through the minds and heads of other people, But no, I'm great at setting boundaries with everyone. Everyone, I'll say someone will, for instance, want me to do a particular thing. And I say, no, I'm not real comfortable with that. And also, too, I don't explain my boundaries too much. I don't. I say, nah. And then people will look for me to elaborate. They'll look for context. Yeah, no, I'm not going to elaborate. Just no. Accept my no. And then when I say no, this is another funny thing that they do. They say, oh, I understand. And then they'll try to figure out a way around the boundary. The boundary will hold because, again, I am great at establishing boundaries and protecting my boundaries. Once I set a boundary, it is what it is. I can appreciate that you don't like it. I can appreciate that you want to climb over it. I can appreciate that you think you can push against it. But my boundary is going to stay firmly in place. At the end of the day, I respect my no's. If I say no, I mean no. No. I don't care how good you think your reasons are for me changing my mind. I'm not going to change it once I put a boundary in place. And my boundaries are to protect me and only me. I don't need for people to understand why I put the boundary in place or why I'm protecting myself in that way. I said no. Which brings me to my next point. Black people, stop letting these Latinos upset you. We owe the Latino community nothing. We owe them nothing. I did a short about that. Do not allow them to gaslight you. Do not allow them to use George Floyd, which was, like my friend Ari J said, that was a global effort. And mind you, when you have been doing activism work, you know what fake allyship is versus what real allyship is. Real allies, the whole George Floyd movement, it was a trendy movement. It was a bandwagon that most people hopped on because they wanted to say, I can't tell you how many white people during that whole thing inboxed me. Is another reason why I don't allow inbox messages anymore. They inboxed me showing me their signs and saying that they were going to go to this march or that march. And I would just sit there like, oh, okay, that's what's up. Because it is, you want to feel a part of something, then go be a part of something. What do you need from me? A pat on the back, a yay, you're on our side. Outside of this movement, where are your receipts? Where were you when police officers were killing black men in the streets with impunity? Where were you when police officers were brutalizing black people? Where were you when black people came up missing? Where were you when black women were dying, giving birth? Where were you when our neighborhoods were being burned? Where were you when we were, during the civil rights movement? Where were you when, when we're getting, there's just so many instances. And real allies are there when needed, and they step up when called upon. That's just, they've always been doing this work quietly, mind you, quietly. They don't make any announcements to black people saying, hey, we're going to show up on this particular day, at this particular time, at this particular place. They just silently keep on showing up. That's just what they do. That's what activism is. It's work. It's work. And black people have always been at the forefront of that work. We have been, when it comes to civil rights here in this nation, it's been black people. And other people of color, and this is just the truth, have ridden our coattails with barely any work towards any of that effort. Even white women have benefited from black people fighting as hard as we have fought for diversity, equity, inclusion, civil rights, human rights. So when black people, the collective, say, okay, we're going to rest right now, we're going to chill, and we just going to focus on ourselves, because really, we are exhausted showing up for everyone. And when we really need those numbers, and we really need the help, and we really need that work, we're not really getting it. I don't know what resting look like for y'all, but for me, resting looks like reading a good book, starting some tomatoes in the garden, watching a good movie, sitting on the porch, sipping tea, waving at the kids. Resting. And explaining why it is we are not sacrificing ourselves For brown people in this moment, despite what is happening to them, that's not rest. We have been talking long enough for everybody to understand why it is black people need to rest. And why other people need to fight for their own causes right now. Because we've always been fighting for our own cause. And consequently, every fucking body else's. We don't owe them shit, not even an explanation. Set that boundary, put it in place, and stop explaining your fucking boundaries, because that's not resting. That is mental and emotional labor. You don't have to do that work. You can just mind your own black ass business. Keep sipping your tea or your coffee. Don't let them brown folks gaslight you. Don't let them tell you that you're racist or that you're selfish. Because they didn't go back to their communities. With all the things, all the words we said to them, if they voted for that man, what we said would happen to their community. It's not our fault that they didn't believe that. When it came to this election, the numbers of black women and black men that voted for the qualified black woman, it was one band, one sound. Black people are always right when it comes to shit like this. How is it in 2024, 2025, we are still not to be believed? Our efforts, our movements, our history is still not being respected, to the point that when we speak, people don't listen. We have nothing to do with the fact that them Latinos didn't believe that man when he said, I'm going to throw y'all out of this country. This is their fight. It has nothing to do with us. It's not even deserving of an explanation. Feel free to throw in a I told you so every now and again, but it definitely ain't worthy of an explanation, because they know why. They always know why. Everybody always knows why. Keith and Vita, I want to say thank you so much for donating to the platform. I appreciate you. If anyone else would like to donate to the platform, I will leave my Cash App and Venmo down in the comments. Y'all have a righteous day. Do something nice for someone. It is okay to put boundaries in place, and people are going to try. They're going to challenge your boundaries. Protect your boundaries. It doesn't make you an evil person, a racist person, a hurtful person. It makes you a person worthy of boundaries.